Boy, oh boy. You think I hadn't been here for years? The grass just exploded in the last couple of weeks. Guess I'll be adding that to my chores list this week. Welcome back to GP Outdoors. No, I'm still here and I haven't fallen off the face of the earth. Wanted to thank so many people that had sent me emails and notes asking me if everything was okay or if something happened, because it's been a while. Well, something did happen. On today's video, I'm going to tell you what happened to me. The video is going to be focused more on my workflow for creating YouTube videos, what my old workflow was, what I was doing wrong, and what my new workflow is now. I'm kind of hoping that today's video is going to be helpful for a lot of you folks that have your own channel, or it's a young channel, it's starting to grow, you're starting to get more subscribers, things are actually, there's momentum building, and you're starting to get to that point where you're faced with what kind of equipment you're currently using and whether or not you want to make a bigger investment in the channel by replacing things that you're using today with newer or more updated or more expensive equipment. If you're one of our good friends here in the community and you're looking for some tractor or some chainsaw action, well, we got 680 videos on my channel. You can zip on over to that. Either way, let's get the show on the road. So let's start with a little story. I've had the channel for just over 5 years now. And when I started probably like most people start. Didn't have a lot of fancy camera equipment or computers or those kind of things because I didn't do videos before. I had a good quality computer, or at least it was a good quality computer for the tasks that I used to do previously. You know, managing my email, working on documents or spreadsheets, surfing the internet. Great computer for that. Certainly not for managing video files, especially big 4K video files. Did not have a lot of hard drive. Still to this day doesn't have a lot of hard drive space. And as far as cameras go, like many others, you know, you either use your phone if you've got a lot of memory in your phone, or as I did, you guys will recall, I had this old knockoff action camera from, you know, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago. Used to use it for snowmobile and ATV rides with my buddies. I started using this. Not real high resolution. This thing will do 720p, which of course is now like dinosaur age as it pertains to resolution and filming videos. But that's how I started. Used my old regular desktop computer, this little camera, and I started managing or starting my videos. Things started off okay. You know, it took a long time to create the movie or the video, even though this thing had 720p files, which are much bigger than documents, but certainly nowhere near the size of a 4K file. The computer didn't have a lot of hard drive, so it tended to labor. You know, the little spinny thing on the screen? It'd take a long time to render or edit a video and then upload it to YouTube. Got along just fine. But then as time went on, I realized that I couldn't keep storing the videos on the computer because the hard drive was really small. So I talked to somebody I knew in computers and they suggested that I pick up one of these portable SSD hard drives. They're great little units for storing data, but because I didn't have the processing power or the hard drive space to be able to process my videos, I quickly went from just storing videos on one of these portable devices to actually processing or running my Final Cut Pro or my iMovie, processing, rendering, and editing and finalizing videos right off the hard drive. I've recently found out that these hard drives are not engineered to do that. It's a storage device. That's all it is. Super important for you folks that are starting out. It is not a working hard drive like you have on the inside of your computer. It's a storage device. Nonetheless, we fast forward. I'm starting to buy 1 terabyte drives at a time. Takes me 3, 4, 5 months to go through it to buy a next one, and they're not cheap. And at some point, you folks will remember a few years ago, I got a new GoPro camera, and I was able to film in 1080 HD or high def, much larger video files than the old 720p camera. So I started buying 2 terabyte hard drives because I was going through them super fast. And I've got one drive after another drive after another drive over the years piling up. And as you folks know, last spring, I started filming in 4K. Massive files. When I film for a day, when we're out in the forest or we're splitting wood or we're running the tractor, I will have an average of between 80 to 100 video clips, separate video clips from a day's work. That's what I edit together. They're in 4K, they're huge files. And as a result, I had to start buying 4 terabyte hard drives. Much more expensive. But either way now, I've gotten to a point where I have 12 of these. in different sizes, carrying all of my video footage as well as my movie footage or my editing files from Final Cut Pro. It's huge. There's nothing on the computer because until now I haven't replaced it. Here's where things kind of went south on me. A few months ago, I was out for a few days filming as I always do out in the forest with Guy and Husky Bob, and we're doing our thing. And I came back and I had a ton of footage, just a ton of footage. Loaded it like I normally do, put the SD card or the memory card into the computer, plug in my external hard drive, transfer the data, and somehow, and for some reason, when I went to try editing, it would not pull the data for me. I could see the data through the computer, I knew it was there, but it wouldn't let me take it. So I called the support line. 2.5 hours later, somehow this gentleman was able to recover the data for me, but at a cost. He needed a brand new hard drive or a clean hard drive. So I had to take one of my older portable hard drives, completely wipe the data off it, so I lost several months of, I think it's 2020, the year 2020. He reformatted it to some new format and was successful in somehow recovering the files onto this newer old hard drive. All was well, I thanked him very much. I was able to access the data and I went on my way. Not without telling me, of course, that I needed a better solution than processing off of these little portable SSDs. But you know me, I just dopily went on my way until a few weeks ago. We're up here for I think about 8 days, a few weeks back, and I had tons of video, lots of footage. We got a lot of work done, especially on the target range build over at Guy's place. We spent several days there, had some maintenance to do around the cottage, had a Widowmaker up the driveway. I had just a bunch of stuff, and I did my regular workflow. I come back to the cabin, I take my SD cards or the memory cards out of the cameras, I plug in my external hard drive, my handy dandy disk units, 4 terabyte disk unit, and then I load this footage onto the drive. When I'm done, I always check my footage to make sure everything came out okay. Everything was perfect. I had days and days of footage. Came back outside, did a little bit of chores around the property, went back in a few hours later, went to start editing video, and I got a big warning on the screen, said, cannot recognize or access device. I'm thinking, geez, that's crazy. Fast forward, after trying numerous times, I call the support guy. He tells me, not this time. You're gonna have to take it to a computer repair shop or have it sent to a data lab to see if they can recover your footage. Massive amounts of footage gone. Long story short, I took it back to the city. I went to several different computer repair shops. I couldn't get the data recovered. It's gone. Don't know why, don't know how, but I know this, because I've talked to so many different computer companies or computer stores over the last several weeks. Here's what I believed happened. My old workflow I've been using for the last few years is pretty simple. I'll head out, do my activity for the day. I usually film with at least 2 cameras, sometimes 3. When I'm done for the day, we're finished up, I come back to the cabin, I take all the memory cards out of the cameras, I plug in one of these external hard drives, and I download all of the video footage onto one of these SSD portable drives. I then, after I'm done, I'll check all the footage. I open my programs up and I check all of the clips to make sure that they're good. They came out okay, the audio is there, all those good things. And then at some point later, I start editing videos. I'll go onto my computer, plug in the drive again, open up my Final Cut Pro, that's the editing software I use, and I draw all of my data back and forth off of one of these drives. So instead of having the data or all the video clips on the hard drive of the computer, I'm using this as a computer's hard drive. Big mistake I've learned from all of these computer guys, because they all said the same thing. They said, does the drive get hot when you're using it? I said, yeah, it gets stinking hot because it's not supposed to be used that way. And what they've all told me consistently is, gets hot, gets too hot, and the drive will begin to malfunction. In other words, you get a crash, for lack of better words, and the data you have on it either gets corrupted or you can't access it. So the reason you haven't seen videos in the last few weeks is because all of that footage is gone now, and I've had no footage. So I've spent the last few weeks researching a solution and a better workflow. And here's what I've got. The first and most important thing is I've had to put out some cash. I had to buy a computer that had a large enough hard drive as well as all the right CPU, GPU, all those things inside of it that could manage large video files and do video editing. Not cheap, but the importance of that is now I have a proper computer that will manage these files. I can also load my data from my cards when I come in every day right onto the computer's hard drive, because the hard drive is big enough not only to manage the computer's processing in the background and all the tasks that it does, as well as to hold the footage, as well as to do the actual editing and the processing through Final Cut Pro right on the computer. When I'm done, I've finalized, I've uploaded to YouTube, I can now take that footage and those files and I move them to an external storage device. But it's not one of these anymore. I took the plunge and I bought what's called a NAS. It's called a Network Access Storage Device. This one happens to be made by Synology. They have a number of different sizes or models. I did my research, talked to a number of different folks at computer shops, and I chose what they call the DS923 Plus. 4 bays, about 48 terabytes of usable space. 48 terabytes. Powered and sits at my house down in the city. The NAS not only will provide me with proper storage for all of my videos, not only now, but for the last 5 years, some expansion going forward, and if I get to the point where I've used up all of those big drives in this current 923, there's a plug and play expansion of another 5 disks. So I'm good well into the future. One of the benefits of it is it's connected into my home Wi-Fi network, but it also has a remote access capability. So when I'm up here at the cabin, although I have a pretty slow connection, I can actually connect to it down in the city. So when I'm running new videos and I'm referencing back like I do sometimes to a video 3 years ago, instead of carrying a big bag of 12 external portable hard drives, which I've been doing for years now, everywhere I go, I carry this big bag of hard drives. Now everything is stationary in a proper storage unit and I can access it remotely, pull up the old file I need and edit it into the existing current video. All without having to carry that big bag around anymore and knowing that I've got it on good solid equipment stationary at my home in the city. Another benefit of having that NAS is I've set it up or configured it with what they call RAID. It's a redundancy. I won't tell you technically because I don't know technically, but what it does is it ensures that if one of the hard drives goes bad, you have the ability to recover the data easily. Super important to me because I mean my bread and butter is sitting in that NAS. I chose the Synology unit not because I'm telling you that it's a great one and you should be getting it or that it's the best one. I did a lot of research, talked to these computer shops. I also watched a ton of YouTubes on these different types of NAS units, and it seems to be a very good quality unit. That's why I chose it. The best part for me, being not a technical person, it was super easy to turn it on, configure it, and make it work. Super, super easy, which I was very thankful for, because I thought I was going to have to take it to a computer shop to have them set it up for me, but I didn't. So the takeaway for you good folks that have a young channel that's growing, at some point you need to make that, risk assessment of whether or not your channel has a great opportunity ahead of it, and at what point you need to make more investments in your equipment and your channels so you don't end up losing revenue for several weeks like I just did. The big difficulty we have in this outdoor space on YouTube is it's a little more unique than some other sectors. If you've got an electronics channel and say you're showing somebody the Synology drive and you lose some footage, well, you just pull the drives back out, turn the camera on and do a retake on that section of your video. But here in the great outdoors, not the same. You're felling trees and it turns out you lose the footage. You can't go put the tree back up and cut it again. Or if you're splitting rounds, you can't glue all the splits back together and run them through the splitter again. When it's done, it's done. You bring the Widowmaker down in the driveway, you can't put it back. So I think it just tends to be a little more important that if you value the footage and the time you're spending and the effort you're putting into the channel, you kind of have to consider how much or how far you want to go to protect that data and to protect those clips. In my case, I think I have everything figured out with the exception of a backup to my backup, so to speak. And that I'm still kind of thinking through. From a financial perspective, I was a little shocked, to be honest. Those small little drives, as you folks know, they are $300–400 a piece. I took all of my receipts out over the last 5 years and I ended up paying the equivalent of what is about $78 a terabyte for storage using those small drives. The cost for one of these NAS storage units, just on a terabyte basis, $22 Canadian per terabyte. But this decision was probably 2 to 3 years late because I've now wasted a lot of money, because this NAS unit is clearly cheaper on a per terabyte storage basis. If I include the cost of the NAS or the Synology unit itself, as well as these big 12 terabyte hard drives I have in each of those shelves, the overall cost is $52 a terabyte. It's still, 25 bucks a terabyte cheaper than continually buying those small little SSD drives and carrying them around with you everywhere. I hope that information is helpful for you good folks. Well, my good friends, that's my tale of woe. That's where I've been for the last few weeks. Either way, I'm back at it, new and improved. I think I'm going to cut off the video here, and I'll do another video at some point in the future to talk about the equipment and the things that I do when I'm out in the forest, what I use for mounts, tripods, all those types of things, as well as cameras, because there is a new player in town. I'm using new cameras now, and I can tell you after 5 years, they are far superior to the GoPros, and they're far cheaper. Thanks so much. Have a great week with your families. Please be kind to each other. And now I will see you again right here. I'm Gord Potter, and you've been watching GP Outdoors. Cheers.